Light 100 candles to set the mood while we talk about this week's
Initial thoughts. Part one. Initial thoughts. Part one. Initial thoughts.
Greetings, Treksters. We're going over the 5th episode of Strange New Worlds, Spock Amok. As always, spoilers included. I'm not feeling super great today, but I'm going to quickly bang out some likes and dislikes. I ruffled some feathers last week when I said that Memento Mori was the weakest of the season. I still thought it was a great top 250 episode of Trek. This show has set a high bar for itself, and just remember, the game's made up and the points don't matter. This week's is a fun romp, but probably the weakest episode so far. We're dropped into Spock's dream about the caliphate he'll have to endure a few years down the line. Only his human and Vulcan selves must fight. This moment of doubt about T'Pring's willingness to accept his human half should be the first red flag, amongst others like her criticizing his human-like quarters, that his relationship isn't going to end well. I've never been a big fan of Amok Time. It's always felt like a time waster that tried to add some comedy that didn't work. Meanwhile, this one adds some actually funny comedy, which brings me to the first like. For explaining Enterprise Bingo to us when La'an and Una catch some ensigns trying to fill out their bingo cards. Una isn't happy when she finds out the people behind her back say she's where fun goes to die. It's one of the more fun plot lines that has no real purpose ever done in Trek. I've got a dislike for the intro running 15 minutes to get to the opening credits. I can understand if you need to pack a bunch of setup into a longer intro. But in this one, it feels particularly out of place, like they arbitrarily chose this spot to cut to credits. I've got a dislike for Pike's uniform in this episode. I thought Anson Mount could rock anything they put on him, but this one's an odd mix of leather and fabric with seams that are more obvious than maybe any other uniform ever presented. The main focus of the episode is on Spock and T'Pring accidentally swapping bodies during a Vulcan ceremony. Of course, because convenience of writing, both have immediate tasks to perform despite their current state. The baffling race known as the Rongolians decide they don't want to negotiate joining the Federation with Pike anymore, but will only speak with Spock. Again, because of convenience of writing. T'Pring, who brings logic to Vulcans that renounce it, is supposed to meet with such a Vulcan, and I have a dislike for Spock punching this guy out into T'Pring's body. She says later that after having met him, it seems logical. No, it really doesn't. If this were a human character we'd never seen throwing punches, I'd have the same criticism. When has Spock ever decided that violence was the best way to solve a simple problem? In the end, we finally work in the piece of canon about M'Benga being a specialist in Vulcan medicine, as he puts some sea urchin paste on their foreheads and gets them to swap consciousnesses again. There's also some setup of Nurse Chapel's affection for Spock as she gives him some relationship advice. A nice little shore leave episode closing out the first half of the season. Not a lot of likes or dislikes, just a fun bit of Trek. Till next week, keep your Katra in your own head, and I've been your host, Dustin Wing.